Hi, I'm Dan. This is Final Fury, and I'm here to do kind of an end of the year wrap up on the records that I've acquired over the last several months. A little show and tell, and let's just get right into it. Pearl Jam's second album, commonly known as Versus. This is a 30th anniversary reissue. Very nice pressing. 45 RPM. I don't know the full story, original tapes and whatnot, but it sounds great. It sounds better than the reissues from 2010, 11, whenever that was. I didn't keep any of those, but this is probably top to bottom my favorite Pearl Jam album, and I found it kind of on sale for a more reasonable price than I think the usual $40, $50. So I gave it a shot, and I really enjoyed listening to it. Sounds really clear and open, and the bass is really nice. It's just a great presentation of this. If all of the early catalog got this kind of treatment, I'd probably get them all again. Sparta's first album, Wiretap Scars, was reissued, I think, last year. And I have the Music on Vinyl pressing, which I've had for a number of years, which I enjoyed, but it's more valuable. So I figured if this works out, maybe I let go of that one. This one's on white vinyl, and it sounds good. It sounds a bit better to me than Music on Vinyl, a little less compressed, a little more lively, but it does have a little more surface noise. So I still have them both, but I think I'd probably still keep this one. Love this record. Amazing post-hardcore music. One of my favorites of this century. This is a recent reissue of Third Eye Blind's second album, Blue, which hasn't been widely available for a long time. Music on Vinyl did a repress several years ago, and I think they only did they usually do an initial colored vinyl pressing, and then they move to black. I don't know if they even got to the black stage. I think the same goes for Out of the Vein. They also did a pressing of. So it was nice to see this come back out. It's a pretty nice color, clear with blue splatter. Double LP, single jacket. Sounds preferable to me than the 2013 pressing that the band put out themselves. That one has it's like a different pre-master or something. There's more effects, more reverb or something, kind of all over the place. It just sounds different somehow. This sounded more familiar to the way I know it, and this is the one that I'm least attached to, the least deeply familiar with. I've listened to it the least out of all their albums, but I still very much enjoy it. This I would like to see a full remix of. It's always had a slightly harsh sound. Tom Lord Alge, I think, mixed at least most of it. And he's known for kind of an edgy upper mid-range style. And this was also the first one that they did on Pro Tools. And this was kind of a big transition period to Pro Tools in the late 90s. So, yeah, if this was put back up on the desk and just kind of redone, I think it would really benefit from that. A very nice reissue, The Hurting by Tears for Fears. This is half-speed mastered at Abbey Road. Very nice reissue. I found it on sale, so it was like a pretty acceptable price. It wasn't like a big discount, but it was worth trying. I have an original that I got probably for $1 years and years ago. It's okay, but this sounded great. It was nice and deep and warm, warmer than I recall. And I just thought it sounded great. And Change is one of my favorite Tears for Fears songs. Overall, great reissue. Within the last year or two, Music on Vinyl reissued all 3 of the Days of the New albums, which was fairly surprising, especially the second and third albums. This is the second one, known as the Green Album, for obvious reasons. The first album was a very young band, acoustic guitar rock. It was great. This gets more into electronics, and it's more of a full band. And it's only the singer. He, fired the rest of the band from the first album. This is kind of his project from then on. There's some great stuff on here, great production. It sounded great. I had no EQ on it. And obviously, Music on Vinyl does really nice vinyl pressings. 99% of the Music on Vinyl pressings that I have are flat and quiet and just great quality. And it sounded great. I can't believe these albums made it to vinyl. It took me a while to pull the trigger on these second two because they are pretty expensive, $40 to $50. And I waited until I got a pretty good discount. And yeah, it's worth it. I haven't played the third one, the Red album, yet. It's going to do that soon, but I know it's going to be great as well. This one is underrated. It has some really great songs, really great songwriting and arrangements. Yeah, this one kind of fell through the cracks in 2001, which is a shame. And there hasn't been an official album since. There's been a lot of demos that have floated around on the internet. There was supposed to be this album and that album, and there's a lot of lore around Days of the New since this album. And Travis Meek's, his problems are somewhat documented. But again, just really incredible that all these albums have been made available. This is, I believe, a 50th anniversary reissue of Tim Buckley's Goodbye and Hello. I don't think I've ever had this. And I was at one of my favorite local stores, has been for going on 25 years, 2nd Avenue Records in downtown Portland. And unfortunately, they are soon to at least close the location that they've been at for 30, 40 years, something like that, since the 80s. They're just basically being shoved out of their building, which is really unfortunate. And they're called 2nd Avenue Records, so I don't know what they're going to do. They seem to be confident that they're going to relocate somewhere, but there's no definitive answer on what that is going to look like. But I went there to try to find one last thing, and I looked around for quite a while. I've been collecting for such a long time, especially from there, that I just had a hard time finding something. But I came across this, and it was a really decent price. It was not expensive, so I went ahead and got it. And it has a couple of my favorite Tim Buckley tracks. I Never Asked to Be Your Mountain and Once I Was are songs that I would like to have. So don't have a lot of Tim Buckley. I have, I think, his first record, and now this one. Great reissue too. It sounds great. This is an album by a band called Martha and the Muffins. It's called This Is the Ice Age. I think it's early 80s. I think 81. Yeah, 1981. And I saw the cover and I thought, something about this tells me it's promising. And I even got the vibe of what the music was, and I was pretty close. It's that kind of new wave alt rock sound that I love from the early to mid 80s. And that was from a time that I wasn't, aware. So it's been fun collecting records over the last 15 years to find stuff like this. Stuff like this, Zeitgeist, who became the Reavers. I love that sound. And so discovering music like this through digging in crates has been really great. I found this for $5. It's near mint vinyl, and it's definitely staying in the collection. On to some jazz. This is Larry Corel, Spaces, on Vanguard. I definitely heard of this name before, but didn't have anything. It's a stacked lineup. John McLaughlin, Chick Corea, Miroslav Vitus, and Billy Cobham on this one, which is fantastic. It's got some fusion vibes and also an interesting mix choice for the time. It's got like that panned drums thing that like the Beatles did and stuff. A lot of bands in the 60s, which is a little odd, but it was a great record. And I have another Larry that I just picked up the other day, which I haven't listened to yet. Before, a couple years ago, I was not very familiar with Art Pepper, but I got another of his reissues from Contemporary Records. Smack Up, Art Pepper Quintet. Another just fantastic reissue. The reproduction of it, all analog, cut by Bernie Grunman, pressed to QRP. It's just like across the board, unbeatable combination. Great music, great jazz, sounds excellent, and I'm glad to be familiar with Art Pepper now. I found it very relaxing, but also very engaging to listen to. Excellent. All right, we got Tutu from Miles Davis. Was unfamiliar with this, but I saw it on a sidewalk sale. These are normally $40, and this was $25. And I hadn't had any of the Rhino high fidelity stuff that they've been doing. All analog numbered pressings. It's cut from the original tapes by Kevin Gray, limited to 5,000. I was not expecting it to sound quite so 80s, but with the synths and the programmed drums, it really did. It was kind of a surprise, but I liked it. It was an interesting sound, but it was a great vibe. It sounds great. And I think this was produced by Marcus Miller, and he's like all over it. Yeah, all other instruments by Marcus Miller except as indicated, and there's some notes, but yeah, it seemed like it was a distinct collaboration with Marcus Miller. And another quality analog reissue, Sonny Stit, Blows the Blues. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you've probably heard me talk about Sonny Stit and how I've been collecting him this whole time. This is a Verve reissue, also done by Bernie Grundman, original tapes, pressed to QRP, the whole thing. The Acoustic Sounds series, just excellent. I think they did a 200-gram version years ago, and I've never owned a copy of this, but this was just so well done, and finally got it. Okay, I think there was a handful of other ones that I didn't get around to, but that'll do it for today. That'll do it for this year. And if you're still with me at the end here, maybe you'd be interested in these thoughts. I don't know how much I'll do this going forward. I don't know if I'll do it at all, really. I thought about it several times since I did the last one, and I was like, I'll get around to it eventually. But I really considered getting on and being like, you know what, I think we're going to wrap it up. I've been doing this for a long time, and I just don't really feel the need to do it anymore, but I don't need to put myself in that box, and but I also didn't want to just kind of disappear, fade away, like many people that I've watched over the years who have done this. So just wanted to state where I was at. Really, I'm uncertain about doing this going forward, how often I will, or if I will. So just wanted to mention that. We'll see. You know, over the years, I've gone through phases of I'll get into it, make 5-10 videos, and then not do it for 6 months. But that's it for today. Thanks for hanging with me. Until next time, whenever that may be. Happy New Year. Take care and enjoy your music.